Peace and blessings, peace and blessings. I was hoping to get out earlier today, but it was a no agenda day. But I'm trying to catch before the sun sets. I'm meant to go to a different park because you can actually see the sunset. But I'm going to go ahead and park right here. So yeah, I wanted to try and capture sunset. I mean, actually seeing. There's a different park, but I'm at least got out. You guys have been feeling heavy, heavy, heavy. I describe it as it almost feels like a heavy energy blanket. But during the winter season, and it happens to some people in summer as well, but in the winter season, I experienced a shift. I guess our world tends to want to label things as if they're bad, and you have seasonal affective. They call seasonal affective disorder, but I don't claim that as that, because we are spiritual beings first, made of energy, made of the same thing that the sun. Well, you know me. We are made in the likeness and the image of a beautiful creator. Look at this. It's beautiful. And so, made from the stars. It's beautiful out here. The moon is there. Yeah. I think I can, zoom in. I'm going to go ahead and get this bowl out. I've got to get a new tripod, but bear with me. The water has receded quite a bit. Of course, it's wintertime. But there's a story behind how I ended up here, living near this lake. It's an incredible story. It is. It is a story about manifesting through visioning, about how to follow calling in your life. Oh my God, just being here. The stillness is palpable for me. I pray that you all can hear me. I pray that you can hear me. So let's go. Let me take this off. Let's see. It's not a proper mic. So yeah, I wanted to try and capture sunset. I mean, actually seeing. There's a different park, but I'm at least got out. You guys have been feeling heavy, heavy, heavy. I describe it as it almost feels like a heavy energy blanket. But during the winter season, and it happens to some people in summer as well, but in the winter season, I experienced a shift. I guess you know our world tends to want to label things as if they're bad, and you have seasonal affective. They call well seasonal affective disorder, but I don't claim that as that, because we are spiritual beings first, made of energy, made of the same thing that the sun. Well, you know me. We are made in the likeness and the image of a beautiful creator. Look at this. It's beautiful. And so, made from the stars. It's beautiful out here. The moon is there. Yeah. I think I can, yeah, zoom in. I'm going to go ahead and get this bowl out. I've got to get a new tripod, but bear with me. You can see still while I set up. And I hadn't played in a while. So I want to get the plan before it gets too dark, and then I'm going to add on to the end of the video and talk to y'all a little bit. Just taking deep breaths. I'm going to tell y'all a story about how I ended up coming and developing a relationship with this lake, literally with water. As I look at seeing how there's a gentle ripple coming up on the shore, I see that the water has receded quite a bit. Of course, it's wintertime. But there's a story behind how I ended up here, living near this lake. It's an incredible story. It is, it is a story about manifesting through visioning, about how to follow calling in your life. Oh my God, just being here. The stillness is palpable for me. I pray that you all can hear me. I pray that you can hear me. So let's go. Turns out to be in the 70s, and I did come out late, but I think I'll try again tomorrow. But I just had to come. It's been a while since I've been by the water, and I'm just going to do a little bit of sound. I need to get a tripod, a new one. I don't have the lighting, just bear with me. But I'm going to talk about how I came into relationship with this lake. You see the rippling of the water, the stillness. It does something to my soul. It is medicine, and it is great. Creativity and music is a healing balm. So at least I got a little bit in. It was spontaneous to come out to the water. We were having beautiful, unusually high temperatures. 70, it was 75 degrees. 75 degrees, so I need to drink some water. But I felt called to come to the lakeside and bathe in sound a little bit. And do that to help soothe my nervous system. I've been talking about, have y'all ever heard about vicarious trauma? Hey, I'm getting ready to go. Oh, this water's not cold. It got hot sitting in the car. Vicarious trauma. I want you to Google it. I might talk more about it, but some may not have ever heard the term. So basically, vicarious trauma is when you experience stress from just simply hearing about, watching, or reading about other people's traumas and tragedies. And today is February the 3rd, 2025, and since the inauguration, we've been inundated. I don't have to go into specifics. If you're seeing this in the future, you know what I'm talking about. If you're seeing this in a few minutes after me posting, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm not one to actually keep tabs on political things. But even when you don't, notifications come up on your phone. People are calling or talking or looking at social media. You just can't kind of get away from it. And even if there are many that maybe don't even, they turn their phones off and you open it up, people are talking about it. But you can feel it, meaning those of us that are super empathic. So let me speak to you all. And those who are healers, you know what I'm talking about. The activities that have gone on and the collective energy is hard not to feel. Now, those of you who, you rock and roll, you strong, not that we are weak, but we are all wired differently. And one of the things that I see is lack of compassion and understanding that we don't tend to have for each other in our own ways of how we're wired. I am in gratitude that I have a connection of sacred souls that know how to hold space. Hold space, what does that mean? Be able to listen and receive, be able to reach out consistently and check on you, be able to understand and even move in closer to you, to come and put eyes on you, to hear your voice. Vicarious trauma. But what I understand as I am led by the divine is to do the things that are necessary to help lift that energy. And oftentimes it means that you just have to sit still. Most of the time I'm active, working, but these last 2 years, there's been a dip for months in my traditional business as a natural hair stylist, specific techniques that I do. But I also notice that every 10 years, I experience a major shift in work that I am to do. And I'm feeling a strong calling because for the last, I would say 10 years, music, instruments have found their way to me, gifted as well as me purchasing. I felt led to play instruments. My latest instrument is Native American flute, and I've been looking for an instructor, and I think I found one. I'm gonna watch a series of her teaching the beautiful young soul. And my background before, well, the last 10 years, primarily doing natural hair, and specifically working with women with hair loss. And before that was many years from 2004 to 2014 as in the career of holistic healing, massage therapy, energy work, you name it. It opened me up to many different healing modalities. Before 2004, I worked 20 years in corporate America. And I worked 23 years in corporate America and literally jumped I say that I jumped the corporate ship. I just couldn't take it anymore. And, but during that time, I felt a calling to come into the healing arena. And intuitively, I saw it. I saw myself doing it. And so now where I'm now, I see I haven't fully come out and applied and used the sound healing, but I'm hearing it in my spirit. I heard spirit say, get all those instruments out. I have 14 instruments. I'm blessed to have 14 sacred instruments, from angel harps to didgeridoos to chimes. What else? To the singing bowls. I've also done some toning with my voice before as well. And in 2023, after coming out of something that happened to me in 2022 that caused me to go into a dark space, because of another a trauma, something that I witnessed. And I heard in my spirit, I said, Spirit, how do I heal from this? And I heard, go back to what gives you peace. And it was the healing arena gave me a lot of peace. So I don't see myself going back into physical massage per se, but some sort of healing, laying on of hands, energy work. There's so many certifications I got in different things. I don't have to recreate the wheel. I could just step back and use what I understand to use to help myself, and as I help myself, to help others. I've been having a lot of time on my hands, so I'm choosing to listen. Spend a lot of time listening in the spirit and bringing all concerns to be transmuted into opportunities to present, and sitting in the spirit and listen to guidance on next steps. I mean, literally every next step. Just like I mentioned that I was going to tell a story about how I developed a relationship with this lake, and it was from visioning. So I'm at that place again of seeing and visioning. I've already mapped it out. I'm going to go in listening mode and prayer mode to understand how to prepare. But I'm practicing with my instruments, getting familiar with them again, and taking that personal healing journey. I've got to do some things to get set up. But I'm more of one who thrives better in person. Thinking of some community gatherings, being able to bring the sacred sounds that I know will help others who may be experiencing vicarious trauma from, to be able to, you take in so much. For those of you who are sensitive, and I think I will add on to this video and talk and share with you what the vicarious trauma is and how to be mindful of it. But yeah, that felt good just for the few moments, and I'll slowly increase my sound bathing practice. The very thing that you have a passion for helping yourself to stay grounded, is the very thing that could be of service to others. Run that back. The very thing that gives you peace and grounding can be the very thing that can help others. I'm going to add on to this video. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. So, for the time, and it wasn't a lot of time at the lake, but for the time that I spent, really rejuvenated me. It really lifted some of that energetic blanket or heavy energetic blanket. I said that I would talk and share with you about the relationship I developed with the lake. I call it lake therapy. That's trademark, by the way. But how I ended up having a relationship with the lake, meaning this beautiful obsession. Um, oh my gosh. What is this, 2025? I think it's been, gosh, 10 years. Okay. When I started doing natural hair in 2014, there's a client that invited me to come to on walks with her. And where she lived was 25 minutes away from my salon. And I began to walk with her probably 2014, 15, and I fell in love with it. Now, I was doing massage therapy and I had just entered into the natural hair arena. I would drive 25, 30 minutes in the morning out to the lake, walk the lake, spend time around the lake, and then drive 30 minutes in rush hour to my massage practice. And I did hair part time until I moved into it full time. I did that for a few years, and then there was a time where I wasn't able to go out there. I had gotten a car. I remember, I bought my BMW at that time. It was a used BMW, but began to have problems with it and didn't feel comfortable driving out that far. I would just go to work and come home in the city. And then I ended up getting another car, and I began to go back out to the lake, and I was like, oh my God, I missed it so much. And I never knew that it was, I wasn't drawn to water before then on a regular basis, right? But it became a healing practice for me to walk in the park, sit by the water. And I loved when the weather became more mild, and I began to ensure that I had a wellness day. Wellness Wednesdays was my day a lot. But, and then in 2018, 6 years ago, I'm 66 in the physical. I'm ageless in the spirit. And I was turning 59. You calculate that. Okay. This is 2025 now. And I remember having some anxiety about approaching 60 and coming to the realization, from the programming of the idea that you have to be married, 2.5 kids, white picket fence, that whole thing. My kids are grown, you know. Uh, but being in that idea. And I was feeling like I enjoyed doing the natural hair, but the idea of going to work, come home, going to work, come home. And I hadn't gotten back into my creativity. So for a year, from I think 58 to 59, or 58 and a half to 60, as I was approaching 60, I started to focus and move into a deeper conversation within. I was having a conversation with a client, and she said, well, what do you envision for yourself in your 60s? And so I began to activate visioning and said, what I feel and what I would love is to live near a lake. Live on a lake, actually. And I see myself only working 4 days a week instead of 6 days a week. You know, just started doing, talking about that. Yeah, it was actually in 2019 because 18, 19, because the pandemic came right there. And I was talking about what I envision for myself and, more of a more graceful and easy living, thriving in that way, not pushing and working hard, but that I would just flow. My work schedule was Tuesday. Wait a minute. What was it? Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, off Thursday, and then work Friday, Saturday. Perfect schedule because I had Sunday, Monday off. Then I work Tuesday, Wednesday. Then I have Thursday off, a little breather, right? And then Friday, Saturday. Perfect. And then when 2020 hit and all that we went through, the plans and the vision that I had manifested. I ended up moving out to the lake. Oh, and something happened in between that time. I shared my vision with another client who was a real estate agent, and she believed in visioning. And she said, you know what? I'm going to schedule for you to take tour of $1 million homes on that lake. And lo and behold, 2020 happened. Some things turned around. I won't go into detail. And I end up living on this lake. And the day that I moved, I realized, oh my God, she had taken me on a tour in neighborhoods around the lake. And I didn't realize the place that I was led to. Well, you got to hear about that, right? You got to hear about that. So during 2020, my lease was going to be up and unemployment hadn't come, but I needed to look for a place. And I was actually being harassed by the last place. Because they had changed management and they were trying to push people out. It felt the same way things are going on here where, the government says one thing, but these landlords and businesses decide to do whatever they want to do. And I had to stay calm and focused. And one morning I got up when we were, the great shut in. And during that time, I went out to the park every 2 days. Our parks weren't closed. They tried to block the parking, but I would walk. I went and got me some fresh air. I would seclude myself, you know, separate myself from other people that were in the park, of course. But I had to move and do my movement with my hoops, and I had to breathe. Man, a miracle happened just from visioning and affirming. And I went out one day and I said, Holy Spirit, show me where my new home is. And I went to South Carolina to a place called Lake Wiley. And that's when they rental offices would just open the door for you before you got there. And you did your own little tour. But I didn't find anything in South Carolina. And I stopped for lunch after looking at a couple of places. And I heard in the spirit, look north. And I hadn't considered looking at the lake that I had already been walking around for years because of the traffic, And something said, look north. So I called them and they had some apartments. Things happen so fast. Next thing you know, I'm moving in. I literally had an apartment right on the lake. I could walk out. I could wake up. And the thing is, when I moved, Facebook memory came up. from a year before. I had written an affirmation on my Facebook page. It was like, I see myself waking up and seeing the water every morning. I see myself walking along the water and hearing the sound of the water splashing on the shore. And my soul is palpable that I can feel it. And I am the lake. I am the stillness. A year later, that popped up right after I moved there. And then the whole first week that I moved there, videos kept coming up from a year before and 2 years before and 3 years before. And 3 years before that, I was invited by a group of ladies on a boat outing. And a good friend of mine, she actually drove the boat. And when I was nervous. I said, "Who's driving this boat?" And when I finally got out there and we docked in the middle of the, kind of in a shady area, and the boat was moving and buoying. And then there was another time that I went to another lake on an excursion that was more of a meditative experience. Oh my God. I was like, oh my God, this is my life. And then years later, I get to, oh my God, it was such a blessing. I lived there for 2 years and then 2020 happened. No, I lived there for 2 years from 2020 to 2022. And then the rents went up astronomically. May 1st, I got notification. May 2nd, I just said in the spirit, show me where my new home is, where I am to be. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to live in any more apartments. I don't want energies around me. Show me. May 2nd, I prayed that. By July 20th, I'm moving in a house in still 10 minutes from the lake. Telling the story and all the things that are happening in our surrounding us, and then specific in our own lives or in my own life with regard to my business, is bringing me back to go back even deeper and higher in that space of visioning. You know how we all know that our lives can turn around and everything that we need is within us. I know that. I've practiced that over and over again. But I do have real times where it's, my energy is not as vibrant. And it has to do, and I want to come back to what I mentioned earlier about vicarious trauma, right? So, how did I come across this term? I didn't create it. A couple of years ago, you know. So, the everyday person, if you're on social media, especially since 2020, more and more, we are only communicating through social media. People are running full blown businesses without even connecting with people in person. I have feelings around that. I know that we had to be safe and this, that, and the other, but there's something to true connection, hearing people's voices, phone calls, even getting cards in the mail. People don't write anymore. Um, we're in such a fast pace, movement, presence is the disconnect. I feel, and I'm one. I like to bring people together, but I'm also a extroverted introvert. I have to balance being around. I need to have deep, quiet time and alone time, but I also yearn for connection. So I try to have that. I try to create different connections, or I have different connections, which I consider different tribes. Not a lot of people. I mean, you know, people I know from when I worked in corporate America, people I know from when I was in doing massage and healing work and energy work, people I know from what I do with my hula hooping and flow dancing, and people I know from working in the salon industry, people I know from doing sacred circles. I mean, but a lot of people that I know from social media. From I used to do a lot of live streaming on Periscope, which used to be owned by Twitter, which is formerly Twitter, which is X or Z or Y, I don't know. But Periscope's not around anymore. Um, you can get burned out just being in this cycle of dealing with social media. And these social media sites, they playing with us with the algorithms and all that. Next thing they give it to you for free for a while, and then the next thing you got to pay in order to stay on top. Who got time for that hashtagging and all that? I mean, ooh, child. Vicarious trauma. Let's get back to that. So, someone was send, you know how people send you a message on Instagram or social media, and sometimes we just be just randomly sending stuff to each other. Oh, look at this, look at that, whether it's humorous or whether it's appalling. And there was something going on with um black a time. It was something going on that people were sharing more and more about black women being abused, hurt, disrespected. And it was a series of videos that came through that someone forwarded to me, and it just made me feel some kind of way. Not everything. I really don't like the random sharing of anything that is, violent or disrespectful to another human being. So I said, this makes me feel some kind of way. Let me look up and I just Googled, is there any kind of impact when you are just observing violence and hearing about violence or people being victimized? And it came up, vicarious trauma. Let me read this to you. Vicarious trauma is a phenomenon where a person experiences emotional and psychological distress after being exposed to the traumatic experiences of others, just through either working with someone, seeing videos, social media, personal relationships. You're not the one being directly impacted. You're being impacted by witnessing and knowing others being impacted. Causes: witnessing or hearing about traumatic events, witnessing or hearing about traumatic events, working with or caring for survivors of trauma, reading or watching graphic depictions of violence, feeling empathy and compassion for others' suffering. Here are symptoms: intrusive thoughts and flashbacks, emotional numbness or detachment, difficulty concentrating and sleeping, hypervigilance and increased anxiety, physical symptoms such as headaches, fatigue, and gastrointestinal issues, guilt, shame, and self doubt. Risk factors: high empathy and compassion, personal history of trauma, working in high stress or high risk environments, and repeated exposure to traumatic material. The impact: vicarious trauma can have a significant impact on a person's life, leading to relationship problems, job dissatisfaction or burnout, mental health issues such as PTSD, depression, and anxiety, increased risk of substance abuse. It's going to go give some suggestions about prevention and treatment. Well, having, I am retired from I'm semi-retired from the holistic arena, but through sound, um, through various certifications that I've gotten in working with people. Even I'm an ordained minister as well. I am an angelic oracle. This intuitively I'm qualified to work with people. Um, as I share this information, a disclaimer: if you experience any of these things and you're going through that and you're working with a physician or a psychiatrist, please continue to do that. What I'm just sharing is with you is my experience and story. Um, but I was reflecting on how I felt and that it fit in this. And I know that, like, what's been happening since the election, for example, even though I don't look at the news directly, I can still heavily feel and I see things pop up and I'm feeling the collective rising that is happening in our world, in our country. And I feel so strongly and sense things. And I know others like myself, highly sensitive people, empathic, intuitive, and other healers. And I call on you if you're a healer or advocate for healing. How do you cope? How this vicarious way of how we are seeing and experiencing others around us, also triggering any traumas that we have had. Just last week, and this is February the 3rd, we had a plane and a helicopter crash into each other in Washington, D.C. Do you know, in the same month of January in 1982, there was a plane crash, Air Florida 90? I witnessed it. You know, so you can imagine. And then with things happening with my livelihood and me trying to figure out, is this a sign of me needing to transition? Because actually, my truest work that I love to do is working with sound, is working with people in spiritual encouragement. Um, there's a lot of certifications and things that I'm aware that I know how to do that I've only done here and there and part time, but not really fully thrown myself into it. And now I'm feeling that it's a must to do. You know, life is not promised. And I don't want to have if I coulda, woulda, shoulda. So this sharing and me posting this is my way of sharing with you an awareness of healing practice that can be beneficial even though you may navigate challenges. So vicarious trauma, prevention and treatment, self-care practices such as mindfulness, relaxation techniques, which sound healing falls under that, and seeking support, professional therapy and counseling, debriefing sessions with colleagues, establishing healthy boundaries and limits, avoiding excessive exposure to traumatic material. Turn the TVs off. Stop always looking at what the world is doing, educating oneself about vicarious trauma and its symptoms. It's important to note that not everyone who experiences exposure to trauma, vicarious trauma, will develop. Well, again, it is important to note that not everyone who experiences exposure to trauma will develop vicarious trauma. However, if you are experiencing symptoms, it's essential to seek professional help to manage them and prevent further harm. So, as I'm listening to Spirit, this love of doing sound healing, and the number of instruments I have, I'm repracticing. I've done many sound baths. During 2023, I did what I call lake therapy. I had 8 events where I had people, women, meet me by the lake on a Sunday. It was like having church in nature. And I was given the vision of how things should flow, and they would meet me by the water. My back is turned toward the water, but they're facing the water on the yoga mat. Different instruments are around them. I have them, do breath work with their eyes open and then tune into the lake and look at the movement on the water, the ducks, the lights, whatever, that the sun, you know, the sun reflecting off of the lake, taking deep breaths and then closing the eyes and listening to a faraway bird or the rustle of the trees, and imagine themselves transporting on the wings of a bird, feeling, feeling, feeling the breath of Creator as the wind across their face, and then slowly lying back on the yoga mat, and I am moving amongst them with sacred sound. So I've done many events like that and other things over time. And when I first, started yearning for instruments, I was doing massage therapy years ago, and you have to play music. Well, I worked part time for Massage Envy, and whatever music that was going on that day, the music that was playing in the room was world music. What I mean by that, it was different instruments, what have you. And there was one sound that blared out over all others, and it was, to me, it was really loud. That this one instrument, and it was the harp, and that's a whole nother story. Next thing you know, here it is. Huh. Oh, I gotta plug up. Hold on. Oh, I've gotta, disconnect my mic. Sorry, it needs juice, so let me turn that off. Sorry, I don't know. It's not gonna work that way. Let's see. Gotta turn this off. Gotta speak up, because I'm so used to using my massage voice. So, the harp blared out amongst everything else. It says I only have 4%. I'm sorry, guys. And next thing you know, I was on a mission to find harps. Angel harps. They're much different than the traditional harps. Sometime you'll see that. Or you can go on my playlist where I think I have a playlist that says sound healing or events. It's in there. So here it is, 10 some odd years later, and I have 2 angel harps. Let's see, what do I have? 2 angel harps. I have a set of singing bowls. I have two angel harps, 3 singing bowls, 2 didgeridoos, chimes, a xylophone type of instrument. I have this other instrument that has a keyboard, but I'm supposed to blow through it. I have 14 instruments, right? Native American flute, and that one, I want to stay focused on learning it. I feel that I can fluently do this. I feel like that. I've done one-on-one sessions with people. I've done lake therapy one-on-one in small groups. I have another program that I tried to implement, but some things happened where I had to put that to the side. It was, you know, a specific type of healing session by the water one-on-one, you know, sort of a ceremonial type of thing. And I'm feeling a calling. I want to be going out doing sound healing. I want to also do sound healing for families, for small groups in their home or I want to do this. And so I'm also a metaphysical, um, metaphorical oracle. I do angelic readings, oracle readings, natal type charts, with different type of astrologies. I do guided meditation. I create custom guided meditations and affirmations. On my YouTube is a playlist for meditations. So, working with our nervous systems, where we are in today and any time moving forward. I had mentioned and posted that it is deeply important for those of us that experience these types of shifts in what we see and realize the impact. Turn the TVs off. Begin to bring, if you're not already, or remind you to bring back into practice movement, getting centered, playing sound healing while you're sleeping, for example. You can go to YouTube and look up long playing videos of Native American flute or sound bowls or spa type music if you like that, or have it going over your speaker throughout your house during the day. Breath work, grounding, as a practice. And yes, if you must, feel like you must stay on top of what's happening in the world. But what I'm seeing is people are getting themselves riled up, but you're not doing anything to take care of your nervous system. Balance is key. So, as I experience what I know that I'm sensing, I feel compelled as a healer to want to share with others ways to help with that homeostasis, that balance, right? I am a healer from the heart, There are people, so I know you might have heard, look, we are one body when it comes to, when I used to be in church, in a traditional church, it says we are one body. There are people that have the strength in the physical to be the feet on the ground, to be the soldiers in the battles or whatever battles we have. Some people have the knowledge to battle, to deal with the laws, and some people have the arms and the hands to fight. Some people have the legs to march. Some people are heart. We're the ones that pray. We hold space. We are anchored in that ways to help others. And I am an energy. I work from the heart. So that's my space. And so I just want to remind those that have an ear to hear, where if you've reached this far, if you've listened to this far, take care of yourself, right? In balance. Go back to the things that give you peace, or incorporate a practice that helps you. Take some time before you retire in the evening and turn the world off. I have a sound machine right here by my bed for years. It's the sound of water. It does something. It helps you sleep deeply. Sometimes I'll play Native American flute. Take care of your nervous system. Create retreats for yourself, especially Divine Feminine. Build a practice. And yes, maybe you go on vacation, you go on a cruise, you go to a spa. I'm talking about beyond that. I'm talking about intentional self-care. Yeah. But thank you for hanging with us. This is one of my longest videos. And until the next video, take care and thank you for watching. Peace and blessings.